welcome both of you to Out Here in the Redwoods. I have yet to meet you.
I'm
Anna.
here.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm not that exciting. I'm a recently turned 43-year-old trans person, parent. I work locally with the fire department here in Eureka. And on the side, I do some trans activism and educational work, things like that. If you want stuff for a dating site, we can talk later, but for now.
A dating site. Is girlfriend on the prowl?
Not right now.
Okay. And Nawdy, you're, as I said, a fixture in Humboldt County, an active member of the LGBTQ community and everything. The hot topic is transgenders person and bathroom usage.
Right.
And I saw a video of a hoop dancer. And the way that he explained it is not just transgender, it's transcending gender, which I thought was really interesting.
Right.
Now, for me, I don't think I would have a problem with a transgender, and you said you're a transgender person. I don't think I would have a problem with you coming into a bathroom if I was in there, or into a locker room. But in your experience, and what have you guys heard? What is the main issue with this? What are people's concerns?
I'm going to say the biggest issue is ignorance and fear.
Ignorance and fear.
Fear.
Okay.
Certainly.
You know, and that there's this misunderstanding. I think that a lot of people think that, you know, as laws are changing or rights are changing, that somehow having these laws or allowing transgender people into whichever bathroom they want to be in, people are acting as though it's like releasing predators into society.
Predators.
And that's a lot of the fear I hear from people is, oh, I don't want, you know, a man in a woman's bathroom because, you know, that men are predators, or, you know, women get assaulted by men and stuff like that. And so there's like all this fear around people, that people can't seem to let go of the idea that maybe someone just wants to go in and go to the bathroom and leave, you know, because that's what bathrooms are for.
Right.
And I firmly believe, whether the laws are there or not, we all know bad people do bad things.
Yeah,
It's
no matter
against-
what.
It's against the law to do a lot of things, and it doesn't stop a predator from doing what a predator wants to do.
Right.
Whether
right.
we say it's okay for transgender people to use any bathroom, or like in certain states, you know, they're trying to pass laws, you know, telling people what bathrooms they have to use. That's not going to stop bad things from happening.
Right.
What
right.
it's doing is preventing people from being comfortable to do what they need to do, go
Right.
to the bathroom.
Right.
Which is something so simple.
And it goes back to a more fundamental human fear, like I was saying earlier. Back before desegregation occurred for racial issues, there were you know, you had bathrooms for Caucasian people and bathrooms for everyone else. And some of the concerns that were voiced at that time were, do you want your wife in the same bathroom as a person of color? They were worried that there were going to be issues based upon that. Well, guess what? Nothing really happened when they did finally desegregate. Of course, that took a massive social movement, federal laws, that kind of thing to achieve it. We're not there right now with the transgender rights movement, although we're in the middle of it right now. But ultimately, it is fear. Mostly it is fear of a sexual predator, which are generally, almost always, cisgender, heterosexual men, getting access to female spaces. And people fear that. And interestingly, a lot of the social backlash that I see when this discussion takes place or laws are passed is from cisgendered, heterosexual men trying to protect the women folk. And they're the ones who are pounding on the drum the loudest.
Right.
They're also the ones who are the biggest part of the problem.
So what is your personal experience with this?
Well, I transitioned here in Humboldt County well, transition takes time. But I started back about 3-4 years ago. 5 years ago, I presented as a Caucasian, heteronormative looking male in society.
But did you see
Since
that for
then-
yourself in the mirror?
Oh, I just hated what I looked like in the mirror.
Okay,
Okay, so
because this is what you look like in the mirror.
this is what I look like now, and this is the first time in my life I've actually liked what I saw in the mirror.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the course of transition, I had to make that switch from using the men's restroom to using the women's restroom. It was one of the most terrifying times in my entire process because I realized through that I don't really look like a man anymore, so going into the men's room is dangerous for me because someone might take offense and they might beat me up.
Right.
But
The
at
predators
that-
are in the men's room,
but,
right?
But but at the same time, I was also aware of the fact that I didn't, at that point yet, look like passively feminine. I hate the concept of passing. That's a broader social conversation that needs to take place.
Right.
But I didn't look passingly feminine at the time. I was very androgynous. And so I feared if I went into the men's room, I was going to get beat up. If I went into the women's room, then they were going to think I was a perv or there to be a predator. So it was like, okay, where do I go pee? I just really need to go pee, you know? So there was a time for a year where it was really kind of a big deal. It's like, okay, what do I do? Most trans people spend a lot of effort trying to figure out where single stall bathrooms are, where family bathrooms are, where they can feel safe just using a toilet.
Yeah.
And most of cisgendered society doesn't have to do that. It's a lot of effort.
Right.
And it's a lot of worry. And especially like in the schools and things like that, where your amount of time to use bathrooms is really regimented by the course of the day and the schedule. Having students not feel safe in one of those bathrooms means students hold it, which means students are generally not drinking enough water, they're having problems with bladder infections, kidney infections, things like that, because they're not taking healthy bathroom breaks.
So now our bathroom problem has become a health problem.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
a serious health problem. Wow.
And I don't think it's not just about, like, even though today our topic is transgender, we have a lot of people in our community that are very androgynous. That, you know,
Naturally.
And-
naturally, like,
Naturally.
where do they go? I mean, this is not just a trend, this is a human issue.
We use the term transgender, and it has a certain political connotation right now. But really, the term that should be used for this discussion is gender nonconforming,
Right. Gender nonconforming.
which is people who don't fit society's views of gender norms. So you
Okay.
could be female and dress in a more androgynous or even masculine way, and you can be in just as much trouble as a transitioned transsexual individual going somewhere where someone doesn't think I ought to be. You can be totally cisgendered, just your personal style means that some people don't like the way you look
Right.
and maybe think you're in the wrong bathroom.
Right.
That's just as dangerous. Whether you are actually transgender or not, that's just as dangerous.
Right. Right. Because I would not feel any fear from you. Or well, if he was a big burly guy coming into the left, you know, all that, I go, excuse me, privacy please, you know, that's all you have to do.
Right.
And how is our local community, as far as you can see it, handling this issue? Is there any step forward in this?
Well, you know, like we, you know, Pressure or Anya hosts the monthly event Club Triangle at the Jambalaya, and we're there. Was it fourth Friday of every month? And we were having issue. They have very small bathrooms in there and long lines and stuff like that. And there was issues, and so they went to the owner of the bar and said, "We're struggling here. Like, what can we do?" And so during the nights that Club Triangle exists in there, the bathrooms, the signs on the doors are covered up.
Right.
And it's, you know, the people's bathroom. It's not his bathroom, her bathroom, you know, or anything like that. So those are little steps that we've made within our own community, you know, and it happens at Club Triangle. I wish it would happen 24/7, like, you know.
Right.
But, you know, like Anna said, we have a lot of places that, you know, now have family bathrooms, you know, and stuff like that. And so I think people are trying to make steps. I've noticed more and more as we go into places that there are always 2 bathrooms, and that they're starting to remove the signs and making this the men's room and the women's room, and it's just 2 bathrooms.
And that works in small areas, like a restaurant or a bistro or a coffee shop. It's more difficult in a large institutional setting, such as at the mall, or, you know, a place where there are 1,000 people at a time. That said, if we do something as simple as change the way we construct spaces, buildings, we could actually accommodate and have a room with a door that locks and has a toilet in it. And then out in the common area, a big bank of sinks, because it shouldn't offend anyone if a man is standing there washing his hands and a woman is putting on makeup.
Right.
Or if anyone is standing there
Right.
washing their hands and anyone else is putting on makeup.
Right.
We can all do that in a communal space.
Mm-hmm.
People get nervous about parts and being seen. And of course, you know, we all have some degree of need for privacy with regard to our body, and that none of that is being questioned. What's being questioned is how society deals with that.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when I was in high school, in the men's room, you would have like a row of urinals right next to each other with nothing between them.
Yeah.
I can remember.
How do the men do that?
God, I hated that. And I can remember like the toilet stalls not having doors.
In the men's bathroom?
In the men's bathroom when I was in high school.
Wow.
Now to me, that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
There should be a door that closes. And if that's the case, most of this goes away.
And why are people okay with that? Why were they
I
okay
wasn't.
with that?
I
and
wasn't.
We have stalls. Every bathroom that I've been in, we have stalls.
Right.
So, but why are they okay with that for boys?
I don't know. It was just the way the building was constructed when I was in high school.
Right.
And it seemed odd to me. It made me very nervous.
Yeah, of course.
Because you've got gender dysphoria issues,
Yes,
and
growing
now
up,
I'm
we're
also,
all-
and
yeah.
now I'm also, you know, I'm standing here going, okay, my male body is wrong, and now I'm standing here urinating between multiple other people, and oh my God, I just want to have blinders on. I don't want to be here.
Right.
I can see totally how other trans people would be, you know, very uncomfortable in that. But talking with men, many men are uncomfortable with that, yet it persists. I don't know why. It's odd. But changing the way we build buildings would be a way to mitigate much of the problem that we're having now, especially with school-age children.
Right.
California was one of the first states to pass laws stating that transgender students in K through 12 could utilize the bathroom and locker room most appropriate to their gender identity.
Okay.
What makes people nervous about this is now if you take someone like me who transitioned male to female,
Okay.
most of those kids, by definition, are under 18 and therefore have not had any surgical alteration of their body, aside from perhaps hormones.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that means you have a person with male anatomy suddenly going into a girls, women's, female locker room or bathroom. That makes a lot of people nervous.
Yeah.
Even though
the child.
the individual's gender identity is female,
Yeah.
the people around are going to see the anatomy, and that makes people nervous.
Right. And when we first started this show, I met a wonderful person by the name of Reese Lopez. And Reese tells the story that when he was young, he was in a gender-appropriate facility, the girls' locker room, because at that point, as what you said, presented as a girl. And because at that age, he thought himself as a boy, he was covering his eyes because he should not have been in there, in his mind.
Right.
And nobody talked to him. He went through all of this all by himself. So, and you are both mothers.
Right.
What do you say today to your own kids? You know, it's like, okay, you have a kid and they explain to you, okay, I would like to be a boy.
Right. Well, it's interesting as far as the locker room goes.
Yeah.
So I have, he's now 9, but when we were a member of a gym, there's a sign on the door that says if the child is like over the age of 5, that the child needs to use the opposite locker room. So my 5-year-old son was no longer allowed in under the age of 5. I could bring him into the women's locker room as we got out of the pool and dress him. After he turned 5, he was too old to be in the women's locker room.
Too old? At 5?
Yeah, and so as a single
Really?
parent, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with him? There is no family locker room at the gym. Am I supposed to send my 5-year-old son into a locker room alone where I don't know what's going on in there? There's a hot tub in there that he could potentially drown in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And all these other things, you know, like I am sending my child into unknown land. You know what I mean? And it really, really bothered me. I mean, just from like a parental perspective of like, why can't we have a family locker room? You know what I mean? Where we can all dress and undress as a family. You know what I mean? My children
Maybe
were,
behind doors and stuff like that. You can, honey, you go in there and you dress.
right, right, yeah.
And I'll be right here.
Right. Well, and it's like if you go to a lot of the community pools, a lot of the community pools have dressing rooms that are there within the pool, you know, where you don't have to go in the locker room. They're not labeled. No one's complaining over which body is going into which room because, you know, like Anna pointed out, we're behind a locked door. Whose business is it?
Exactly.
You know, what's going on? And as far as the locker rooms go, I know a lot of trans people, you know, are standing in line trying to wait for a bathroom stall to open up so that they can use the bathroom stall so that they're not being judged out in the general, you know, changing area. And how much effort would it take to, you know, put some curtains up or whatever and just give a little bit more privacy
Well,
to
I
people?
would like that personally.
Right,
Because even though I'm comfortable, I'm modest.
right, right,
I'm modest. It's
Right.
like, okay, I don't want everybody to see my bra.
right.
And I'm sure many other people would benefit from that.
Right.
Not just trans. It's for everybody.
Right.
Everybody needs a little privacy.
Right.
And for predators, you know, haven't we seen that even in the girls' bathroom, that there's gangs of girls coming to beat other people up? Not even
Right. Well, because there's this huge stereotype that men are the predators, you know what I mean? And as time has gone on, we're seeing more and more, you know, that more men are coming out about sexual assaults, you know, and that it's not just women that are sexually assaulted, you know, and so there's a lot that's going on. It's I think a very sexist world right now because the biggest concern is the men being in the women's room, you know, not. The men are like, oh, let the girls in. We don't care if the girls are in the men's room. And the girls are like, we don't want to be in the men's room, you know. And then we have these, you know, people that want to be in the women's room because they feel safer around women or they identify as a woman or whatever. And then the women are freaking out and going, but you're a man. And so there's this huge sexism that's going on around it too.
And there's a hang up with language.
a hang up with language. Please explain.
Because most of society uses the term male and man interchangeably.
Really? Yeah, that's
And
true. That's true when you think
Woman
about that.
and female interchangeably.
Right.
One of the things that the trans community has been doing is trying to drive a language change. And that is that male and female pertains to anatomy.
Right.
Man and woman are social roles that people take on.
Oh, good point.
So you can use male and female to describe biology, but man and woman are better used to describe a gender identity. In other words, how do I identify within society?
Right.
And I would like to also mention at this point that we've been talking about a very binary system up to this point of male, female, man, woman.
Right, right.
There is also the issue that society likes to ignore of what about intersex people? What about gender non-binary people? What about, you know, these other aspects of society that because they're such statistical outliers, we simply don't want to acknowledge their existence. And you know, most of the conversations don't even include those people right now, which is really unfortunate because then we're going to have a whole other conversation later after we settle the binary trans conversation.
Right. But what will be our breakthrough conversation
I think that
for the people trying to pass these laws? I saw something today that, you know, you have to do this according to what you are on the birth certificate.
there are right now almost 24 states in this country that are trying to drive laws through legislatures that are aimed at enforcing that. It has to be what's on your birth certificate. It has to be, some are doing what your anatomy is. And I want to know who gets the job to check that because
That's a very good question.
if you want to see that, you better take me out to dinner, buy me a bottle of wine, and take me on a romantic walk somewhere.
Right, right. That sounds like a setup for an assault, if you ask
Exactly.
me.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know,
exactly.
and
none
who
of your business what's under my kilt.
That's correct.
who watches the watchers?
Right.
Right.
You know, this is an enforcement nightmare.
Yeah.
Yet there are nearly 24 states that are trying to push these reactive, fear-driven laws through.
Right.
And a lot of these specifically target children within the school system who are trans.
And who benefits from this? What is the big benefit from all of that for people?
It gives somebody some sort of false sense of peace of mind.
Okay.
Right.
That's what it
That's
is.
it.
It's false.
And I want to point out something that's like should be blatantly obvious to anyone who actually pays attention. I'm a transgender person. I was out as a transgender person, living in my gender role, dressed like this for years before I had surgery, which meant I was walking into the women's room with male anatomy, and it was never a problem. I never attacked anyone.
Right.
I never raped anyone.
Right.
I never molested anyone.
Right.
I never peeked at anyone.
Right.
All I did was walk in, use the bathroom, wash my hands, check my makeup, run a comb through or a brush through my hair,
Yeah.
and walked out. And that's what most of the people who are trans and trying to go into a bathroom are going to be doing. The numbers of trans people who are convicted of actually committing some kind of a crime in the bathroom are basically non-existent. Almost non-existent. There are no statistics that you can find because it doesn't happen.
Right.
They're just people who want to go to the bathroom and not be noticed.
Well, and I tried really hard to look up some statistics about the amount of trans people who had been assaulted in bathrooms versus the amount of like sexual assaults that were actually going on. And I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any information about it. You know, I mean, I get that sexual assaults exist. I would estimate that probably there are more trans people that are assaulted because of perception in a bathroom than there are people that are sexually assaulted in a bathroom. I mean, there are a lot of sexual assaults that go on everywhere in the world in all different spaces, you know what I mean?
Right.
That the percentage that actually occurs in a bathroom is probably smaller. And this is just my guess, but based off of my own information of polling my local community, I have more trans people that are being assaulted in bathrooms than what I've heard of sexual assaults occurring in a bathroom, just from asking people.
Absolutely. And you will not find a statistic for trans-identified individuals committing crimes against people because there aren't enough of them to actually develop a statistic.
Well, and then if you think about it, they're scared to death to be in there. Why would they go
Right.
in there and hurt somebody? Like they are trying to sneak in and like get in and get out and fly under the radar and so low profile. You know what I mean? Like their biggest fear is like someone's gonna someone's going to tell on me. I'm going to offend somebody. Someone's
Right.
going to scream at me. Someone's going to assault me. Like,
Right.
I can't imagine going into a bathroom and being so scared that probably you can't even pee, you know? I mean, you know, and you're sitting there and waiting for maybe the stalls to clear out just so you can, you know, do what everybody pees. They write books on this, you know what I mean?
Right.
We teach our children this from, like, a very young age. Everybody pees, everybody poops. It's what people do.
That's right.
You know, and so I'm
Not a
just-
secret.
Right, it's not a secret, and it just, you know, I don't understand why it's such an issue. I just want to pee.
Yeah.
I'll pee next to you any day, honey.
So how are you
Yay.
two? Okay, yeah, you know, I wouldn't have mind.
Right.
I wouldn't have mind. So how are you two individually helping with this issue?
Personally, I do a lot of trans advocacy work. I do a lot of trans educational work. I speak almost every semester at HSU, almost every semester at CR. I have spoken to the faculty at CR. I'm working right now to try to get to speak to area kids in local high schools.
Good.
I've spoken at universities as far north as Portland and as far south as the Northern Bay Area.
And what has the response been?
It's usually very, very proactive, or very, very positive, excuse me. But you also have to understand that those are people who are going and looking for education on this.
Right.
It'll be interesting for me when I hit the high school educational level to see what kind of a reception I receive. But within the collegiate level, it's been very positive.
Good. Good. And Nawdy, what about you? How are you personally helping?
I don't know,
with
we're
this?
here today. and
Yeah.
So that's a big step. And me and Anna have done other shows on transgender issues together. And then just being part of like Humboldt Pride.
Yeah.
And as people come to us with issues, you know, I think I'm more of a facilitator, and someone calls and says, hey, I'm having this issue, and I go, okay, you know, let me get in contact with people who can resolve it. Let me call Anna. Let me, you know, be like that middle person of connecting people.
Right.
I'm a cisgendered female, so you know, I'm here as an ally for the
Right.
community, and I'm here to say, as a cisgendered woman who has 2 children, a boy and a girl, that, you know, I think that this fear is very irrational from a lot of different perspectives.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've been sexually assaulted, and I am not afraid of a transgender person being in the bathroom with me.
Right.
You know, and stuff like that. So, and it's having conversations. I think I've probably had this conversation. I can't even count how many times with somebody. I've sat down with somebody, and, you know, as we're walking around, you know, pointing out, go, what bathroom do you think that person should use then? And well, what about that person over there? Or what about my drag kings and queens that are dressed up in drag?
Right.
You know, and stuff like that are out in public, you know, and maybe they went to a restaurant before they decided to go to a show. And,
Yeah,
and so
right.
it crosses over to so many different people in our community.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's just having the conversation and making people aware, you know. And I'm so thankful for the work that Anna does. I think she's amazing. you
Well, I
know.
think you're amazing too. And it's, ladies,
Thank you.
it's been a pleasure to speak with you both. And let's keep working on this.
Well, thanks for having us here, because this is an important issue.
It
so
is.
what you're doing is
Thank you.
important too, you know.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, you've been watching Out Here in the Redwoods. I'm your host, Denise Riles, with Nawdy Little and Anna Gillespie.